our social butterfly counselors out there. We'll give him that. Oh, look at our CAO's not here either. Oh, he's over there. You guys make this such fun. So I will call the September 12th, 2023 regular council meeting to order at 6 o'clock. And welcome back, everybody. Hope you're all refreshed and recharged and ready for a tough year, another year of work. So having said that, I will ask for a motion to adopt the agenda, and I believe it's as presented. There's no additions. Am I right, Ethan?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that the agenda for the September 12th, 2023 meeting be accepted as presented.
All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 3, Evolved Surface Strategies, who are here on behalf of Rogers Communication. They're proposing to construct a 30-meter lattice tripole style wireless communications installation. That's a lot of words for one piece of equipment. At 1727 19th Street to fill significant wireless coverage gaps in the area. So welcome to Anthony. And Ethan, while you come up to the mic, Anthony, it's right there at the speaking desk. And I'm sure someone will turn the mic on for you. But Ethan, our CEO, would like to just say a few words before Anthony starts.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Just a few preliminary comments from the perspective of the town. We're facilitating this process, but really it's the applicant that's, as required by Industry Canada, is undertaken since the beginning of June an extensive public consultative process throughout the town with regard to the proposed Rogers telecommunication tower. The federal government has sole jurisdiction and discretion over all such applications which are administered by Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada pursuant to the Radio Communication Act. The town does not have approving authority for telecommunication antenna structures and cannot prevent a proponent from ultimately gaining permission from Industry Canada to install a telecommunications antenna structure on private land, nor do we have any power to regulate their safety or insurance requirements. The federal government, though, does require the applicant to undertake an extensive public engagement process, which includes, as part of that process, seeking a letter of concurrence from the town of Didsbury, which primarily is an acknowledgement from the town that the relevant consultative process has been undertaken. So just to reiterate that, because again, sometimes there is a misunderstanding that somehow it's the town deciding whether or not this tower can go there. We're just part of that consultative process that ultimately will inform the application that goes to the federal government, who makes the decision. And so with that, representing the applicant is Anthony Novello on behalf of Rogers Telecommunications.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Now, I don't have much. It's kind of what the way this generally works. It was summed up actually very nicely here, but it just aesthetics, the location itself, alternate locations explored, and then what public consultation process we were actually following. So I did submit a letter here early this week, and a lot of those responses, well, they were all included in the submission package. So I can go through them, some of them being a little more lengthy than others, if you would like, but I will leave that up to you. Outside of that, I don't really have much more to say.
So you're offering to read through all the letters?
Not all the letters, we'd be here all night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I guess, so what were you offering to?
Sorry, just to review the responses that we provided for those concerns that we listed. Some are more lengthy and a lot of them do contain links, so I don't know if it's more beneficial for you to read them or if you've read them already. I'm not too sure, but I just wanted to offer that.
I'd like you to repeat the concerns.
Sure.
And then we'll during the package too.
No problem at all.
Sometimes when we speak about it, we add things.
So I just tried to stick to the ones that we heard again and again and again. So those were health and safety, the aesthetics, the location, the alternate locations explored, and then the public consultation process that we were following.
conservation package.
It is, yeah.
Okay, other questions from council? Mr. Mazur?
Thank you, Mayor. When do you expect this to start? When?
Like construction? It's kind of hard to say. Like right now, they were telling me it's in the budget year for next spring. Depending on what that budget projection looks like come the end of the year, sometimes they bump it out a year. But I would like to say the concurrence, if issued, is valid for 3 years only. So if they take longer than that 3 years to break ground, to get things going, they have to restart the whole consultation process. So that means re-engaging the town, getting a new letter of concurrence, doing another round of public consultation. So there is a little bit of pressure on them to get it done within that 3 years.
So I guess my concern is around the town not having the approving authority for telecommunications. Like we don't have a say in this, but we're being asked for a concurrence letter, and I don't quite understand the purpose of that when we don't have it. Like, what are we concurring with that that they mailed out 3 times? Because I don't know that. I don't know they didn't or did, but I have nothing here to see that, you know, I have to take the word. I guess I'm just really confused with what are we concurring with? Why is this necessary?
I can absolutely answer that. So the intent of the getting concurrence from the local municipality is within that CPC, yes, I mean, the be-all end-all, if push comes to shove, is ISED's approval. Now, what they really push you for, though, is to get that letter of concurrence. And what that is to show to them is that we've talked to the municipality, we've talked to the public, you have reviewed everything, right? Everything's above board, and that you don't disagree necessarily with the, not always necessarily the placement of, because with ISED being the approving authority, it could technically go in any zone regardless of the land use bylaws, zoning regulations. But they just want to make sure that you're having those discussions up front, that if you do have any reason, how do they word it? I'm not going to try to attempt to say that, but basically what they get at is they want us to approach you too, and even though you may not have a policy, they want to know that if you had concerns with the type of tower, or maybe there were some sensitivities in certain areas, whatever those might be, that if you relay those to the carrier, that they are being addressed, at least to the best of their ability anyway. So if it turns out where non-concurrence is issued, and let's just hypothetically say it's a municipality who's not so easy to deal with, they've got, maybe agendas on the side, who knows, people are people, and there's no legitimate reason to not give concurrence outside of maybe just they decided on a whim. But they did ask for certain things to be done. Those things were done, and at the last minute decided we're not giving you concurrence. So then if you go to ISED in that instance, for example, you would say this is what took place. These are the written, it has to all be written. These are the written things we were asked to do. These are the things we did do. Doesn't look like they had a reason to issue non-concurrence in this case. So then what ISED does is takes that on themselves. You have to provide as in our case, the proponent, everything that we did, all of the correspondence had. Then the municipality is contacted by ISED for the same information. What were you given? Did they come and talk to you? Did they try to get in front of council? Those kinds of questions. So then the municipality provides all their information, and ISED then reviews it and makes their decision.
No, and maybe ask my question wrong. I guess I feel like because you did the public consultation and you did the things that you were required to, I don't feel like I could say that I don't concur with it because it happened.
Okay.
You did those things, and I just feel like I have to concur with it because those things occurred. Irrelevant if I agree or disagree with it, that's irrelevant. I have to concur because I saw that these things were done, and I just feel like that's uncomfortable for me because I don't see the purpose. I don't. I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly.
Go ahead, Ethan.
Just to add to that, Anthony, and these are questions that municipalities have kind of been wrestling with for years over this kind of funny thing that is a little uncomfortable, and really it's the federal government. The heart of it is the federal government just wants the town to confirm with them that the applicant has engaged with the community, and has engaged with the town, and sought our input, and which they've done. And it's their way of making sure that they've done their due diligence to engage with the community. And then really though, they're the ones that make decisions on the safety of the tower, whether towers are safe, what kind of tower is suitable for what kind of location. That's for them to decide, not municipal councils. Really, the municipal council, part of it is just to check the box with the federal government that they've engaged with the community and they have engaged with the municipality as an organization.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask, what could you offer? And there are concerns about health and safety. I can see that you explored other locations, so that doesn't have to be answered. But when you do answer about health and safety, what is your answer to the people who wrote the letters?
I'm going to summarize instead of reading verbatim, if that's okay. Okay, so the way this works is ISED is a federal entity, right, that oversees the generalities of these applications, tower infrastructure, that kind of thing. The other federal body involved is Health Canada. So they dictate the health and safety restrictions. So Health and Safety Code 6 is a document they put together to help govern those limits. So it breaks down in there the different power intensities they can use. There's a lot of it I don't understand. It's very technical. Radio frequency engineers, it's more their thing. But they do have to do a Safety Code 6 assessment on those facilities before going into service. And then on an ongoing basis, they're monitored as well. I guess the balance or check and balance to that would be if anyone at any time feels for whatever reason that tower is exceeding those safe limits that are set within there, that they can make a call to ISED, and then what ISED does is, and I'm not sure what the triggers are, what the exact process is, but they state that they do go and monitor the facility for X amount of time, it's undisclosed, and then they determine if at any point it's peaking above, and if it is, the carrier is ordered to shut the tower down, remedy the issue, prove it's been remedied before they can put it back into service, and it's not assessed. Like someone monitored, I'm sorry. It's monitored for a period of time after the fact to make sure that it is actually resolved.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? I think we are in the day and age of communication, and I appreciate your presentation and what you do for the companies that you work for. We see them everywhere, so you guys are busy.
Very lately, since COVID.
Yeah. So there's no more questions. I guess we'll thank you, Anthony, for coming to make the presentation and answer your questions that were posed to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Like I said, we don't need to be nervous at that speaking table. So thank you for a great presentation. You did great.
Thank you all.
And I will have a motion to accept the presentation from Evolved Service Strategies as information. Councilor Winter?
And Mayor Hunter, I'll move to accept the presentation from Evolved Surface Strategies as information.
Any other comments? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 4, adoption of our July 11th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes. Is my mic not on? Is that what that means? We have the adoption of minutes for July 11th, 2023 regular council meeting. Oh, Councilor Williams, please.
As amended. To adopt the July 11th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes as amended.
So, you have an amendment, Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On the first page of the minutes, it indicates that all of our administration was absent. And I don't think that that's probably true. I think we maybe had one or two here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
We had a meeting without administration.
I think you need that after Ethan instead of before him, just absent. Well, the meeting ran pretty smooth without the here. Well done.
You recorded it.
Okay, is that the only amendment? So, any other comments? Call the vote to accept the minutes as amended. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 5.1, letter of concurrence for Rogers Communication Tower. You just heard the presentation. You have the package in your agenda. Are there any comments or further questions of our administrative team? Okay, so does I guess we have the motion. Anybody like to make the motion? We have two options. Councillor Windsor?
Mayor Hunter, I'll move that the town council issue a letter of concurrence for the proposed Rogers wireless communication installation located at 1727 19th Street.
Okay. Now we can ask more questions since I jumped the gun on that, but are there any? Seeing no hands you have a question again?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a reaffirmation. So by voting in favor of giving the letter of concurrence, we're simply saying that they did what they said they did. Thank you.
All right, I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have council reports. And the last report we had was July 11th, obviously, and I know Councillor Bowser was really busy all summer. So do you want to go first? I think you had one meeting after we met.
Yes, we did. And the meeting was to plan another meeting. So, no, there was nothing outstanding with the Water Commission. I think at that time we did get confirmation that we're going to bring the new rates, if there are any, in sufficient time so that our CFO could handle that in the budget. That was the main focus for me. So, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowser. Deputy Mayor?
I had no meetings, July or August, or up until this point in September. I got the summer off.
Wow, you did. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a brief meeting with the Didsbury District Historical Society. Back in August, we just discussed the upcoming Mountain View Arts Festival, which is taking place September 16th and 17th. And there's some fun things happening at the museum. We're going to have a photography show and sale. There's also the Scarecrows. It'll be a great time.
This is paid advertising.
It is.
Yes. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On behalf of RDR MUG, or as a participant with RDR MUG, we had the opportunity to tour the Red Deer Water Treatment Station in Red Deer. Incredible facility. The amount of water that they put through there, the quality of water they produce is well, I mean, we do it at Anthony Henry too, but it's so much bigger. It's just a massive facility there. Anyway, it was very enlightening and very much appreciated by all the members that attended. Parkland Regional Library, we have a meeting coming up here, I think on Thursday, is the board meeting. It's an in-person meeting. We are just about at the 6-month threshold where we can talk again about and move forward with changing the membership agreement to have the budget set based on the same funding formula as what municipalities have. So we're just about at that 6-month threshold, and so it won't be this meeting, but the following meeting that will pursue that further. Waste Commission, as everybody knows, the Waste Commission on July 31st closed all the recycling centers around the county, and we've only had a very, very minor contingent of people that have said anything about it at all. There was a letter in the paper this week about it. However ill-informed that person was. We have a meeting coming up week Thursday, so we'll see where we are with stuff there with the Waste Commission. The tornado fundraiser, I wanted to say that to council that your contribution or the contribution that was made on your behalf to the fundraiser, the tornado relief in Carstairs was amazing. And thanks to our staff for putting that together. That was, it was very well accepted. I don't know what all the things went for. I was a clerk. I wasn't handling the money, so I don't know what they went for. But it was very, very good. A lot of people there. They raised just over $100,000 in relief. And then I'll leave the Sunday Fun Day for you and to talk about.
Only because I went down the slide.
I know.
Couple times.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it was so much fun. Councillor Moore?
Yes, I had one committee meeting July 18th at ICC Prep. And on July 24th, I was in Sundre for the announcement for affordable housing funding with Jason Nixon so that was interesting. And then August 13th, Sunday Fun Day, Ethan Williams and the mayor and I manned the town booth and handed out lots of freezies and had a good time. The mayor and Councillor Williams had more fun because they went down the slide and I didn't.
Yeah.
August 17th, Mountain View Seniors Housing Special Meeting regarding salaries, so I won't say any more about that. And August 19th, the Elks Parade, and again, Ethan Williams and the mayor and I represented council and had a very good time. I have to give kudos to Councillor Williams because he walked. I got to drive, which was fun too.
She had the AC on the whole time.
We're going fast.
That's it.
Thanks.
I had 2 Cape board meetings, and we're meeting every month now. And Cape, they have the new executive director, Tracy Gardner, and she's doing great things for Cape in her new position. And she's currently doing member engagement, coffee and conversation with municipalities to talk to them about Cape. And so she's circulating through the whole Cape region. The board is looking at board development initiatives and some governance workshops. A strategic plan review, which I will do that, but it was supposed to be an external report and I didn't get it to Luann on time, but it's, I'll give everybody a strategic plan that they have in place right now that was in 2022, and it's just for an information item, and you can get it on their website as well. Committees, Tracy's looking at the committee structure as with the chair within the Cape, and that's being reviewed. They're working closely with Community Futures. The delegation summit's getting closer, and as we all know, the delegation will be here in October, visiting Didsbury and being toured around our community. So we're giving updates on those at the meetings, and I know Alexa and Ethan are keeping in touch with that as well. And Cape is working on a regional economic development brand, marketing plan, and website, and the date of launch is TBA. And they're also working on the Cape Regional Growth Strategy, which is their strategic plan. Again, they're I repeated that because I put them there twice in two different names because, anyway, that's what they're up to these days. Still working on that connection corridor for the corridor through the mountains to transport things into BC, but that's appears to be a long way off. And I also had Mayors of South Central Alberta today in Drumheller, and it was a great meeting. I, of course, didn't have time to make any notes I'll have that at the next meeting. And yes, I was at the Sunday Fun Day event. Lots of people, and it was great to see. And I wish I had my grandsons there today and I had a hoot. And I would have gone down more if I knew it was that much fun. And sooner. There's more adults going down sometimes than kids, I think. I think we should rent that out. And that would be a great kid's birthday party. Like if we all set that up. And really a shout out to the fire department who always steps up for those kinds of events, and it was great seeing them there. They were having just as much fun with the hose as the kids were sliding. So. And that's my report for what I did. I had other meetings, but it would be of interest to you. They would, but they're just the regular meetings that I participate in. So, having said that, we'll have, unless there's questions, we'll have a motion to accept the reports, council reports as information.
I move the council accept the council reports for September 12th, 2023 as information.
Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. And then we have,
The CEO report for September 12th, there's lots of second quarter reports in there. I think, do you have anything to add? And we'll take questions before we make the motion, as always. No, nothing to add? So any questions? About Councillor Windsor and then Councillor Williams and then Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Hunter, there's a lot in the CAO report, and I have a lot of questions, or a number of questions, and we're only supposed to speak to it twice, so how do you want to manage
Well,
this thing?
you don't, that's, no, you can speak another time if you have new things to mention.
Okay.
Right, you just can't keep repeating the same thing.
Okay.
So, but we'll let you do a couple and then I'll go to another councillor.
Okay. So on the first page of the report, where it's talking about the 582 and 23rd intersection improvement and enhancement, I'm wondering, in the approval of the enhancement that the council gave, the 1 meter shoulder was supposed to go all the way to the spur, and I see that it's not to the spur. I'm wondering if there is still work to be done on that road, or was the scope changed? Scope of that project changed?
Ethan?
Yeah, we're very great on that.
Good evening. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for the question. The answer to the question is yeah, the scope did change. Part of the factors that led to the decision to decrease the widening was when it came to council, we were expediting an estimate to get it in front and for consideration. And so we hadn't quite got the contractor's change order number back. So when we went to the contractor with the approval of additional funding to get them to do a change order, the numbers that came back were just a little bit higher than we had allowance for. So internally, we discussed it and decided that it was probably better, instead of calling everyone back, to negotiate a different value to decrease the widening back to the bylaw entrance so that the intent of the project was achieved, not so much the additional widening all the way to the spur. So second to that is that in the future, when development does occur north of the spur, that widening can easily be taken forward at that time. So it was kind of to achieve the best project result, the narrowing got reduced further to the north.
May I do a follow-up to that, Mayor? If the scope of a project, capital project, is to be changed, which this is, shouldn't that come back to council? Isn't it council that makes that decision?
that would be the correct process. And Ethan, I could call a special council meeting for that. So I think that's an important part of council's job. I have there's a question I have too, and I think it's just here at this point, it is process that council needs to be involved in. We approved a project at a certain cost, and the scope changed that got us less than what we approved. So special council meetings are I don't mind calling them in, and I think that's important that our process does stay as per council's responsibilities. So just having said that, I'll answer that I think that should have come, and I know the management team probably discussed that, but I think we'd all like you to keep us in mind when those things are being discussed and move forward. So does that answer your question? And then
Yes, yeah, I wanted to say that I'm questioning that, but overall, we've got so many things going on, and it's wonderful what's going on in the community, and the acceptance in the community, the comments I've heard about what we've done over this summer, and the construction that's gone on has been really, really positive, so it's been really, really good, so thank you.
And I'd like to add to that in that I think council can pat themselves in the back too for not loading a whole bunch of more projects on and just doing that catch-up year, because I think we saw the results of the catch-up year come out very positive, and our director wasn't running around trying to look after another project when all the other ones were still piling up. So I think thanks to council for that insight as well. Are there other Councillor Williams and then Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm sad to see the Didsbury basketball court not going ahead. I'm just wondering, is there any plans by Zion Church to come back and do this?
So they've had a bit of change in leadership. So the contact who had kind of been the real champion for the project has left that organization, and then the artist canceled. So I did let them know that we were open to collaborating in the future if they had an idea on something that we could work on together. And if not, I think council liked the idea of the mural there, that maybe that's something that another organization in the community might want to champion as well.
Okay, that answered. It's Councillor or Deputy Mayor now.
With the Art Society and see if it's something that they might consider getting a different local artist in to do it. I still think it would be a good enhancement for a town. Or in the CAO report that is really close to happening. And just a quick comment on the fire department's response totals. I found them very informative. I thought that the information was laid out nicely, and it gave us really good information.
Councillor Moore?
I just want to say that not only is it beautiful, the 19th Avenue and 20th Street paving, and every part of it is the way that it feathers out when it goes on to 21st. It's just seamless, and also along the curves. We don't have that gap where water gets in. It's just beautifully done. And the sidewalks, they proudly put their deco in the corner because they are masterful, like between the post office and the drugstore, well, the front porch office. That area was an area where a lot of people had fallen, and now it's just as good as it could possibly be. So I'm very pleased with the quality of the work that we had done this summer. Thank you, Craig and Ruby Ron.
Councillor Bazard?
Thank you, Mayor. I love what has happened here in this last summer. Our administration, without the interference or input from council, have done a stellar job with all the construction they've been doing. This went seamlessly, and people were so happy with it. The only question I have is just curiosity. On 19th Street, the one by the hotel, they've got an unusual marking on a sidewalk, and I don't know what that is. I've never seen that in any kind of pathway situation or sidewalk thing. I don't know what that is. And there was one other thing, and I'll remember it shortly. But that was the thing that threw me. That's the only place it's at, is that you've got this hoop. And I don't know what's that supposed to represent? A no-go zone, or like what
Is that
is
a question to somebody?
Rich,
Ethan, do you have, who would like to answer that? 'Cause I have been asked that as well, but I also was in Drumheller today and I saw them there too. And they're filled in though with lines.
So Craig is going to request the query over this.
Thank you for this question. I had anticipated it coming. So in working with ISL, our engineers, on the parking layout, in order to get 8 additional spaces, we were able to sort of squeeze in there, but in order to get those spaces, we had to go a little bit closer to the intersections. And then, as you've noticed on the south, on 20th Street, we have the bump outs in concrete, designed into the curbs. And that's to allow for the car to sit somewhere and then the pedestrian to walk out onto a safe space, be visible, so that the cars going around the turns can see the pedestrians easily. So it's hard to make drastic changes. Obviously, we don't have a revitalization plan for that road, but we want to see improvements there. So we're moving forward inching wise. And one of those inches is sort of the introduction of those curves and those bumps. We didn't want to do it in concrete. We didn't want to just sort of jump out there. So the paint lines we thought was a good soft step to get people thinking and curious about what their purpose was. And eventually into the spring, we'd like to put planters in those spaces to give them some feel, to give them some substance, and to have vehicles recognize that the turning patterns are going to change there. And then ultimately work towards bringing islands into those intersections to give the pedestrians those spaces that they need to get out into the driving lanes and be visible, with still feeling that they have a safe space to duck and dodge if they need to. So that's the intent of the paint lines. It's a soft step approach.
Is that supplemental? Okay, so what that actually represented was, normally that would be a concrete circle. It would be a solid unit, right?
It can be ultimately, yes.
Okay. One other thing I noticed is that parking in front of the drugstore, they've got the handicap space. Everything well painted, by the way. But on the right-hand side of it, the very first space is right in front of a yellow line. And I don't know whether I'm supposed to park there or not. The space is there, but there's a yellow line right in front of it. It's confusing.
Why don't you test it out and park there and see if you get a ticket?
Well, that's what I want to do. Yeah. She's all
It's the trick space.
We can look into that. I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head, but
Just an observation, that's all.
I did notice that too.
I don't want to bring these things up because you guys have done such a stellar job all summer that these things are new points, really. But I have to do it because my mission.
and we appreciate the input.
Councillor Windsor has another question.
So going back to the mural and hearing that there could be a different group that would champion doing that project or possibly doing that project, how would they go about doing that? How would they go about making application?
Well, I have a comment here just because I think council should consider it. It's on that topic, and after Councillor Williams said that, a couple things. I think it's great when groups make proposals to the town of things they want to do, like the Zion Church Youth Group did, and that we have one on our plate tonight for a mural on a building downtown. I think that's wonderful when they make those proposals, but I also think if that doesn't, now that it's fallen through, council should consider that an RFP would go out for that basketball court to be done, and we would engage with the youth that use it all the time. That's what I would like to see council consider for that, moving that project forward. And that could be discussed at our workshop, or Ethan, does your staff have a comment on that, or?
An RFP would work for sure, that we could advertise it for interested parties to be able to submit application. I mean, obviously, we're looking at 2024, just we're running out of time this year, so, you know, if we were to identify a budget that we would be allocating, similar to what we've done this year for the paint, for that proposed mural, and then have groups apply or individuals apply, just a little bit trickier than a regular RFP where we're, you know, usually a price competitor or an experience competitor where, you know, you have people that are interested. Maybe it's a community project where it could be something collaborative where we just bring in somebody to help lead it, and then everybody gets to participate instead of it just being one group over another.
Yeah, and I guess the point of that is the brainstorming about it and thinking outside of just having a group come and propose a diagram to us. Maybe they're, you know, our banners are going to be that way with the artists submitting their proposals. So, and you know, we have some great stuff happening with our artists in our community. So, good to build on it and take it, you know, showcase them. I think that could be a good workshop conversation, and budget, obviously. You have another question?
Yeah, if I may.
Okay.
On page 33 of our agenda, under the section called Medical Response 2023 Q2, there are two headings there that I don't understand. Co-response determined and co-response time factor. Could I please get an explanation of what those two things are?
Ethan, do you know? Does someone you know?
Someone does, yeah.
We should have Curtis stop using trick language in his reports.
It's insider legal. So we're just gonna look into that briefly. Maybe if we go on to the next question while we see what we can find about that. We're gonna reach out to Chris.
I have another question about a project that's in the CO report. So Craig can take the seat again if he wants. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, well now let's shift all the Craig questions.
Yeah. Well, I look at the 21st Avenue Storm and Surface Works, which is called Storm and Surface Works, is what council approved. And I know last year we had that motion to cancel the, what was it called? Change order, because that was the change order on the project from 21st Street. And so the tenders went out, and the project was approved for a replacement of concrete curb and gutter, sidewalks, accessible ramps, removal and replacement of asphalt roadway, and drainage improvements, including replacement of stormwater main, new catch basins, and subgrade improvements. So, and that was a $324,000 project that council approved in 2022 that got carried over to this year. So, can you explain that it doesn't look like that? Just the underground work got done in the catch basins, and so, again, I don't believe that was brought back to council with all those changes. And what was the ultimate cost of all, after you took away a bunch of the work that was to be done?
I think there's some big assumptions there. The work that was presented for the award that we provided, the tender package, was for all of that work that you said within the defined boundary of the work to put in the drainage pipe. That's why it's a drainage project that has some curb and gutter replacements for the catch basins, along with the sidewalk that was taken out to put the catch basins in, and then the asphalt subgrades and everything were replaced where they were removed in order to do the drainage project, which is what that project was. So the surface works were reinstated, but it wasn't a replacement of surface works. That would be a $1 million project in total. So for $300,000, we got a drainage pipe, new concrete and curbs where the catch basins went in, and new asphalt where the pipe was put.
Okay,
Okay, and thanks for that explanation. I guess that will just leave me ask better questions at a capital budget meeting, because when I read that it's replacement of concrete curb and gutter, that would be my misinterpretation, that it would make that entrance look much better, which I was hoping for, and so maybe that, that conversation is on me to clarify, because I think the way it reads, it sounded like a way bigger project that would make that whole entry. And there wasn't much concrete work done, am I correct? Like there wasn't any.
No, this is the curb and gutter where the catch basins were put in, so there's 5 meters for each of those. And then we put in 1 extra wheelchair ramp to facilitate parking lot access. But that was pretty much the extent of the concrete work.
Yeah, and I guess the diagrams led me to believe too that will all change, so I'll just ask better questions for our next meeting so I can understand it better. Because I certainly expected it to look like that, but if that was your explanation, certainly explain your
Yes.
$100,000.
And it might be a clarification that I can use in my naming of my projects. So I'll take this as a learning lesson too, and no doubts. So like when we're gonna do a full restoration of the surface, the restoration would be like full meal deal, like where we're rehabilitating, that sort of thing. So it'd be different language, but I can definitely clarify or provide drawings of the construction boundary, which might be helpful in the future.
Thank you.
And keep this in mind, Council, for next year's capital budget, that maybe we want to make that look nice, or the work that was done looks nice, it just wasn't what I expected. So, thanks for that answer. Well, yeah, I did.
We do have a
Because there was a
reservoir.
whole lot of words that was explaining that to me, and that's how I interpreted it. So, are there any other questions? Councilor Windsor on the last one?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On page 37 of our agenda, at the bottom table, in the bottom table on that page, it's the 2020 capital project carryover. And I see the East Reservoir design phase there. I do not see the East Reservoir land acquisition. Now, I believe the land acquisition was removed, but it doesn't show that in footnote 6. And so either the land acquisition should still be remaining in that table, or there should be something in the footnote saying that it was taken out, when it was, and what resolution took it out.
We did have a conversation about removing that because of a grant. Is that, Ethan, can you guys, is that what happened?
Well, I'll have a minute to speak
Okay.
more to that, but
Yeah.
it was because we don't need to acquire land for it because we're utilizing town land for it. But Randy can speak to that footnote.
Well, I'm just looking up, I believe there was a resolution. And if it's not in the footnotes, that was an oversight, so we can bring an amended version back to the next meeting.
And my recall is when we talked about removing that land acquisition, it wasn't when we were looking at town land, it was when the grant had something to do with it. We didn't sit there with that money waiting when we need to reapply for the grant, perhaps because of the timelines that we were on.
Correct, and because we can only use MSI grants for 5 years. If you don't use the money, you'll lose it essentially. So we wanted to cancel that project, and it was back in April that I contacted the grant body about that, April or May. Cancel the project, free up the money for something else, and to make sure we didn't lose that funding. And then if we were to find a different land location that needed to be purchased, we would have came back to council to have that approved again.
Does that answer your question? Okay, any other comments? It's a big, long list of a great CO report. Thank you for all the work on that. And for the ones that we didn't answer or ask questions to, I guess that means that they were just that thorough. We didn't have any questions. So thanks for all the quarter reports and all the updates on the projects. And I think this is certainly a summer to remember, with all of our citizens speaking so very positively about our road work and about our administrative team and council approving those budgets. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On page 42 of our agenda, it's the budget comparison, budget versus actual comparison, and I think I see insurance at 136%. And I'm wondering, I understand the income ones, but I don't understand where the insurance is. Have our premiums gone up that much?
So for the insurance, and I realize now that we forgot to put the note number beside that. There was a, it should be note 7 and the note 7. Yeah, we'll bring an amended copy of this because the notes are wrong there. But, so there was a damage claim in the water department related to a water issue that happened, and it was approximately $70,000 to fix it. So we had to pay for it, but we were reimbursed with the insurance proceeds. So those two amounts net each other on the overall budget.
Thanks for that.
And then Amanda also has that fire answer.
Right, okay.
Definition of it.
Okay.
And going back to answer Councillor Windsor's question about the co-response time factor and co-response determinant. So a co-response time factor is the times when the fire department responds, because AHS is going to have a greater than 15-minute response time.
Okay.
So that we're kind of stepping in because AHS can't make it quickly. And whereas the co-response determinant is our fire department is being called because it's a serious, potentially life-threatening call, so they need their help for, it may be like a cardiac arrest or something like that. So they would be called immediately on those calls, knowing that that's what it is. Whereas the co-response time factor is looking at AHS's ability to respond and sending the fire department in its place. If that makes sense.
Thanks for that. And the second quarter report, we always appreciate them. And since we're so close to the third quarter, I'm sure you're already working on that, so. All right, any other comments? I'll have a motion to accept the CAO report as information. Councillor Moore?
I move that we accept the CAO report as information.
Call a vote, all in favor? That's carried. All right, we have item 7, bylaw 2023-15, amending land use bylaw 2019-01. Ethan, do you want to speak to that first?
Yeah, no, there's nothing specific to add other than just we discovered that there's a tiny little unused municipal reserve slice that's on this property, and so to go ahead with that, with the process of having a new development put there, we just need to dispose of that, and this is part of that process. So at this point, this is just to set the public hearing date, and then there'll be a kind of a more summary presentation made at the public hearing about it.
Okay.
So I move the council grant first reading of bylaw 2023-15 redesignation from IS to R2, 2500 15th Ave, amending the land use bylaw 2019-01.
Sorry. I spoke to
What?
I spoke to items 8.1, sorry.
No, none of us even noticed.
I'm not taking it. You'll remember that.
Related to that is you also have to just put the proper zoning there.
So are you trying to trick us?
Yeah, sorry. On top of the municipal reserve slice, that's that use piece, that's 8.1 that we're setting a public hearing for. This is also, this part here is just to also put the correct zoning to match what the new developer's gonna do there, which was part of the deal when we offered to sell it. We said, we'll do in-house for you the rezoning to get it to whatever matches the.
Which I knew before you gave that answer.
I knew while I was saying it sounded weird coming up.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I just can't believe council didn't catch it. No one.
Well, except for all of us.
So we have a motion. Got first reading to amend bylaw, land use bylaw 2019-01. Call the vote, all in favor? It's carried.
And the council set October 24th, 2023 as the public hearing for bylaw 2023-15, redesignation from IS to R2, -2515 Ave, amending the land use bylaw 2019-01.
I'll call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. And we have item 7.2, bylaw 2023-16. Rosewood Valley Campground rates and fees. And in brackets it says 3 readings. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Do we want Councillor Moore motion for the first reading?
Sure. Move that council grant first reading to bylaw 2023-16, Rosebud Valley Campground rates and fees.
All right. Questions, comments? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. In the background or discussion portion of the background, it talks about a comparison with other central Alberta campgrounds. And I don't see them here for us to look at so we know what campgrounds there were or what the fees were. And so I'm wondering, where does that come into this discussion?
Yeah, we can speak to that and give a summary of that, Nicole.
I have that information. So there's really only 2 that I can find that are offering winter campgrounds. One is Westerner Park up in Red Deer. And so their winter rates per month are $650 plus metering on their site. So they have a electrical meter installed on each campsite. And then the other is Balzac, which ranges between $825 to $950 per month, also with metered power. So those are the comparables that we have in terms of winter camping.
Can I just ask what the first, I was reading stuff. What was the first campground? I got balls.
It was Westerner Park in Red Deer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that answers your question?
That answers that to start with.
Are there any other questions? Anyone else? Councillor Baswick, and then we'll go back.
And just in relative to the rates, I guess what I look at is that I don't necessarily want to parrot another community's rate schedule. I think we look into it and see what our costs are and adjust our rate accordingly. We can have a made in Didsbury rate for camping. We don't have to do what another community would do just because they do it. That's my thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Windsor again?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. In the motion, which was motion number 30123, it was indicated that the administration would bring back a report with regard to the concerns that council had expressed about the winter camping, and primarily it had to do with standards development. And I wonder where those standard development is and what standards we're talking about. It was aesthetics and safety, and I think that that's kind of important to have in place before we set these rates.
So 300 dash what?
301-23.
Ethan?
Yeah.
So which one's for that?
Thank you. So this, because we're just looking at a rate bylaw right now, that would come back to council as further information. So those are things that we're working on to have in place before the winter camping begins.
So the rates are just what we're going to charge them, and then all the standards and policies will, they'll have to pay that to follow the policies. Is that, does that, sorry, I'm not making light of it, Councilor Windsor, I'm just saying that it's just the rates that we're approving right now. So Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, so would I understand correctly that if we are approving these rates, that they can't actually charge them without the standards being in place? That in order to have the winter camping, they would have to, those standards would have to be in place before they could actually go ahead and even charge these rates?
So they know that the campground hosts are working on the standards in terms of, you know, what is appropriate, what is safe, what is it, you know, to make sure that the residents are safe and that also that their equipment is protected and that it's meeting a certain aesthetic level. So the winterization normally is kind of an October, November thing, so we can bring those back to the next meeting. I'm sure they can have them in place for then. We're just bringing the rates ahead because they would go into effect on October the 1st, and so if council wanted to send it to committee, then we would have still the 2nd September meeting to bring it back. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
I guess before we did approve the winter camping last year, we had comparisons and estimates, and we also got a report back on the success of the winter camping, which we received as council. And so we do have the background information that we made those decisions on, and the decision to take it up to 800 now satisfies some of the questions that were brought before. The small things that they saw this last year that might need to be taken care of so that there are those regulations ahead of time are procedural, which does not need to be in the actual motion. It's a procedural thing that's administrative. So I would ask that we just go ahead and approve these and let administration do the work that they need to do and set the standards that seem appropriate.
The motion was to bring it back to council.
Yeah.
So, but Nicole's indicated that would happen. Do the, relative to this, Nicole, do they have, or the campers, do they have to sign something to say they'll abide by all our stuff? So if there's new policies and whatnot in place, before they could pay the $800 a month, do they have to sign something? To say, are these relative to the rate and them being there?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. Just that's the best way to ensure that our expectations are being met. It could just be an updated kind of use agreement or rental agreement, similar to what they would have signed when they first initially kind of started at the campground, but this would, maybe we just implement a winter use agreement for those residents there.
And administration captured all the questions and concerns that were in that motion, and that's what's coming back, is what I interpret. Do you have a follow-up?
Well, just one final comment, and that is that according to social media, if we can believe social media, all the sites are already booked, and I'm wondering how they can possibly be booked if we don't have the standards set and we don't have the fee set. And it seems to me that that's the cart before the horse, and that I just don't think it feels good. And yeah, I'm very uncomfortable about that.
But if they don't agree to what they have to sign on October 1st, they won't be staying there, so they can't book. They might have them booked, but not signed and sealed. Would that be a correct interpretation? So October 1st, if they won't sign that stuff, they have to go. Just like anything that isn't signed anywhere. That's what I would think.
Well, I mean, and October is a bit of a flexible month just because normally, like, so pre-winter camping that we hosted, sometimes our season would extend into the early part of October, depending on the weather. So we would expect that October will be the month where a lot of this kind of winterization is going to be happening. If this information comes back to council on the 25th, and if council isn't comfortable to approve 3 readings on this rate bylaw this evening, we can bring the standards back as well as the additional readings to the September 25th meeting, which would still give us time to have the rates in place for the October 1st change of season at the campground.
Okay, Councilor Mitchell, or Williams?
Williams.
Over here. 2 W's together.
I'll be in favor of voting first reading, but then I think we should refer back to the strategic plan and have the rest of that information come back on the September 25th council meeting, the standard policy and the SPC's recommendation.
Well, we would grant first reading though, and then make another motion. So, Deputy Mayor.
So if that's the way that council chooses to go, I think it would only be fair to, I mean, if we're waiting till the 28th day of September or 29th day to release that in 2 days it goes up, I think we're probably going to have to push that rate. They may have to pay the existing rate for October, and then it would take effect November 1st, giving everyone a month that isn't able to afford that increase or whatever to either find a new place and get out. But I wouldn't feel comfortable in approving a rate on the 28th of September coming into effect on the 1st of October. To me, that would have to push out then until November.
So SPC heard your comment and they'll take that into consideration at their meeting. If we have that motion. Councilor Moore?
I'm just wondering, we're talking about the standards, and I think that's what's going to SPC. I don't think that the rates and fees need to go to SPC. So why don't we approve the rates and fees and ask that the standards go to SPC?
Well, the standards should also go to PEC, not SPC.
Whichever.
Right, 'cause they're
They
the
go to committee.
service
How
level.
about that?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
because
I agree with that. I
really,
think we
why
can
are
have
we
it.
delaying the rates? Because somebody wants to know what the standards are.
Yes. Ethan?
Well, that was part of the reason we wanted to bring the rates first, so we had time to kind of notify the public as to what the rates would be. Because the standards themselves, that's part of a check-in thing. When they check in, that's kind of a here's what you have to agree to, here's where you signed up. It's not the kind of thing you need to let people know ahead of time, but the rates are something that we want to give as much notice as we could. So I think what's been suggested here is a suitable way to approach that.
I think that's a good suggestion too, because the rates can then be conveyed to the people who have booked, and then the standards can work on the PEC. Will have to get together and finalize that and bring them back if that's the motion.
So we have a motion after this
Yeah,
to ask for that.
first, second, and third reading. Yeah. So we have, is everybody ready to vote on the first reading? So we'll call the motion, I'll call the vote on first reading of the campground rates and fees for the upcoming winter. All in favor?
That doesn't, we're not talking about actual rates, we're just talking about this, we're gonna look at it.
No.
That it will be 800.
No, I won't go with that, sorry, that's not acceptable.
I'm calling the vote, so put your hand up. You're not putting your hand up is fine. There's 4 in favor and opposed. And having said that, then we'll need, there's no sense moving on to second reading. So we'll have another motion to send the,
Actually, we could do second, we just can't vote for it.
yeah, yes. So go ahead, if you want to make the second,
I would
I'm
make.
going to take a motion for second reading, and then I'll answer your question, Councilor Moore.
I move that council grant second reading to bylaw 2023-16, Rosebud Valley campground rates and fees.
I You had a question, and then you on this issue?
The reason I'm voting against it is because I don't think 800 is enough. I think it should be higher. And I would suggest that at least 850, maybe even 900, but I think that 800 isn't enough. I think that there's a lot more expenses than what we see in our presentation in the background. I think there's a lot more, if you look at a campground budget lines in our budget, there's a whole bunch of things that are allocated to that. And I think there's a whole bunch more expenses to this than what meets the eye or what's been presented here. And I would think that it should be higher.
Okay,
That's why I vote against it.
Okay. Councilor Williams?
I would like to introduce an amendment to the motion to add and send the bylaw 2023-16 to the strategic planning committee and bring back a recommendation to council.
This is the second reading on the rates and fees. So we'll need two separate motions about the rates and the service level. So because it's a bylaw reading, we stick with that?
Yeah, so what I'd recommend is that if that's the will of council, that to have the committee look at the rates and fees, that the SPC would be the one to do that. So to pass second reading and refer it to the rates or to the SPC. And then the separate motion will be to send the policy and standards to.
Okay. Yeah, as long as we get the goal, we're supposed to have the right place.
Okay, so we take
Would that be a
that.
separate motion?
Well, I'd like to think it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those, what I just
The
explained,
second
in
reading.
two separate motions.
But second reading, we vote on that, then we have the motion to send to SPC, and we have the motion to send to PEC.
Well, you can tie a motion to refer something to committee with the reading that you're passing it with.
I know, but if we have two voting against the bylaw, maybe they do want it to go to SPC, but they're voting against to send it to SPC, so if it's separated out, they can vote on that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Oh, either way is fine. Yeah. But I see what you mean when you have people voting against it.
Yeah. So we'll leave it as it is, just second reading of the,
Well, and maybe, sorry, just one more point. Maybe then, because if the committee's gonna look at it, maybe before even passing second reading, just have a motion to send it to committee, and then it can be brought back for a recommendation for second.
I've already made a motion.
Sorry, just an idea.
yeah. Well, I think
We could
it's,
still do it after.
well, I think it's good to get the second reading,
How do we?
because then it can come back to third reading,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So we have a motion for second reading for the campground rates. She didn't accept it, so, yeah. Yeah. She said she made the motion. She's very firm with her sale that she made the motion. I will call the vote on the campground rates and fees for the upcoming winter. Our bylaw 2023-16. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And now we need a motion to send the campground rates and fees to SPC to be brought back to the next September meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council before bylaw 2023-16 Rosebud Valley Campground rates and fees to the strategic planning committee and bring back a recommendation to council.
Any other conversation? We'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That's defeated. So where would you like that to go? Whoever, if that's defeated, to send it to SPC, then we'll just leave it with administration to work it out and bring it back at the next meeting. That's what we'll do. And so then we have a motion. Are we going to have the motion to send to PEC for the standards? Does anyone want to make that motion? Okay.
For the standards policy of Rosebud Valley Campground to the Performance Evaluation Committee and bring back a recommendation to council.
Okay, with that, I'm going to ask, maybe we should ask, we're going to ask, because Nicole referenced that the campground management is looking after those So that would be fine. I mean, you'll have those in your hand and you think they'll still come.
Yeah, we can bring a
Phil
draft.
would willingly, and Melissa would willingly give them up.
Yeah, we'll bring a draft to the committee for them to.
If it's even a pass, so we will, now that we've clarified all that, we'll have that document for PC to look at.
We're on pins and needles for this.
I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. 6 years later and I still don't get it. Sometimes. Like, maybe if our seventh council would have been here, we might not have had all the time. But I did forget to mention that Councillor McCoy did send her regrets.
So we can carry on now
To our business items. And the first one is 8.1. MR removal. MR disposal plan 0310537, block 3, lot 51 MR. And is there, Councilor Williams has a hand up first. So.
And just a reminder, Ethan's already had.
Yeah.
Just let me catch up here.
I can just talk very slowly into the mic. Just set a public hearing date for October 24th, 2023, regular council meeting for the removal of the municipal reserve MR designation within plan 0310537, block 3, lot M51 MR. My goodness, that's a mouthful.
Should stay talking slow.
Yeah, shut up.
Any questions or comments on this? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And we have item 8.2, community grant application for Mount View Art Society. And to clarify, this is the correct circle around the correct part of the building. So, yes, it is.
But the script says the opposite.
Yes, so can we have, let Ethan, can Nicole speak to that first? And then we'll have the motion.
Well, thank you. So when I wrote the RFD, it was intended for the wall where the parking lot is, the kind of lower section. And since I submitted the RFD, it's changed. So the Art Society felt that that wall, because there's always vehicles parked there, wouldn't get the impact that the mural deserved. And so they have moved the location up into the upper portion of that building, which I think will definitely be much more noticeable to people in all areas kind of that neighborhood. Also will, improve the aesthetics of that facility, and we still get a great mural downtown in that spot.
Thank you for that. Councillor Windsor and then Councillor. Did you want to make a motion?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll move the council approve $2,000 in the 2023 community grant funding for the Mountain View Art Society for the installation of a mural on the west wall of 2014 19th Avenue.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. And then, did you hear me?
I think his hand was up first.
I think it was two. So, Councillor Williams and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, since it's the Didsbury Inn, can we paint a mural on the front of the old building? Like, is the owner of the Didsbury Inn okay with this? Like, that's...
I hope you're not going to sneak it on there. In the middle of the night.
I don't think everyone wants to see my design.
No, you're not going to get your paint, no. This guy is really good. Did you want that answered? So is the owner aware that we're painting? No, we, but our artists.
Yes, the Art Society has approval from the owner of the building.
That's a huge relief. Right?
Yeah, it is.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I like the idea. I support it. The recommendations on this are good. I just feel we have a responsible to know what they're gonna paint on it. Because the basketball court had an artist concept of a moose, and before we're giving money, we should know that they're not gonna paint something that isn't agreeable, not that they will. But what are they painting?
Can I just say that I think for, council is gonna be made aware, and I think for, privacy and integrity of the artist, that's, it's going, you know, council will, we can save the motion for after closed when council sees that picture, if you like, but I think you'd be very pleased, and at the same time, it's a good observation for sure, and if council, is that the will of council to wait and see it, that's fine. I mean, we can make it after closed. Councillor Moore?
I'm concerned that we treat both of them the same. They brought in the concept and then we wanted to see it before they went ahead with it. If we did it for Design Youth, we should do exactly the same process for this one as well. So I agree that I'd like to know what it is before we say go ahead and allocate it. We could do it conditional to us seeing it and approving it. I'm okay to do it conditional to us approving it.
Oh, absolutely, and I know that the artists and the helpers and the Mount View Art Society is certainly open to, there are reputations at stake here too, and of course they want council to see that. We're just not, I think everybody understands that he's a pretty famous artist and he's pretty amazing, so it'd be nice, once council sees it and approves it, then they'll understand why we want to unveil it to the community per se. So Councillor Windsor had a comment, and Deputy Mayor again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is different than the Zion Youth because that was on town property. This is not on town property. This is on private property. It's a completely different story. And Mr. Sidorik, and he has been an artist that has displayed in the Calgary Stampede for 70 years. Won it 3 out of the 7 years. And he does huge paintings. Some of his paintings are $75,000. So he's not going to put anything up there that is going to question his reputation at all. So yeah, this is a very famous artist, and he's doing it for nothing.
Yeah, it's very, very
Unbelievable.
generous, and the administration has something to say to that here.
Yeah, they have asked of us that we keep it confidential, which we can do under section 29 of the FOIP Act. And so what we recommend is we do have an image that we can show council, so that maybe the motion would be to decide to be referred to the closed portion of the meeting, and then it can be completed after that.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah, so that was going to be my question. Is it something we could see in close where we keep it confidential? Like I say, I support the idea. I believe he's a great artist. But I can't blindly give money if it's like,
yes.
I just feel I have a responsibility to know what it is. I'm not going to choose if it's good art or bad art. I'm not a critic. But if we're putting money into it, I think that's taxpayers' money. We have a bit of a responsibility to just understand what's going there. And I do, Mr. Councillor Windsor, I trust it's going to be phenomenal. I have no question about that. I'm excited about it. If we can somehow, I guess, then make the motion to
defer to after
let us
close.
see it and.
Yeah. So
that would
we
mean
don't.
I would have to accept an amendment.
Well, Ethan, we'd have to just defer the motion to the subsequent to close. Accept this as information and then discuss it. Well, I guess that was on your closed docket thing, like your presentation. So because there's a motion on the table, we'd have to withdraw it and accept this is information, and then revive the motion or defer the motion to after closed.
Yeah, so because there is a motion on the table, so if Councillor Moons is willing to take that amendment to instead have it referred to closed, then that would just pause the issue until closed.
Yeah,
And if not, if he doesn't want to accept that amendment, then you just vote on his motion and then see what happens with that.
but then you can't revive the motion.
That's right.
So I would defer it. Can we have a friendly amendment to defer your motion? And council raises, and I talked to the assistant to the artist, and she understands as well, and is very, this is an amazing accomplishment to have this artist do this work in our community.
Right.
And then the friendship from the Art Society treasurer, who works very hard for the Art Society, bringing this to us. We first want to acknowledge that we really appreciate that. And when people invest in the community, no matter if it's private or public, it's great to see. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So I guess my question would be, has any counselor seen it? Does any counselor know what it is? Because we're supposed to have the same information.
Well,
You could go close right now for a second if you want.
Yeah.
Maybe that's,
yeah,
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to be difficult, but it's easy to make a decision when you've seen it. It's not so easy when you haven't. And I'm not against it.
I'm
at all.
saying we should
I'm
defer
for
the
it.
motion. I'm saying we should defer it to after closed, and that is simple. Is it not? Defer the motion.
But just going to close down.
Well, and then we'll,
So,
Then we have to.
so we've had two members of the Art Society sitting here all night waiting for this decision.
Yeah.
And now we're going to send it to closed so that they have to wait until after the entire meeting to find out whether or not this has gone forward. I think that's very disrespectful. So I would like to maybe
I think we
retract
should.
my motion and go in closed.
Yes, I think Lisa would be a gracious host of our Art Society members to go out with them after she. So we'll make a motion to go closed, and then.
We'll just step out here.
Okay, we'll come get you.
That's okay. Fresh air is good. It's okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful night.
So we need a motion to go closed.
Need a motion, yeah, we did, swear to-
All in favor? And so give Lisa a minute to. at 7:34 again.
Okay.
Okay, and then Lisa will resume, we'll get our guests back in.
Mosquitoes?
All right, so,
I reinstate the motion.
yes, you can make that motion again.
Okay, I'll move that council approve $2,000 in the 2023 community grant funding for the Mountain View Art Society for the installation of a mural on the west wall of 2014 19th Avenue.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Call the vote, all in favor? And we thank our artists. Thank you for the proposal. That's beautiful. We'll be looking forward to that. And in September, and you must have ordered the weather because it's going to be nice all of September. All right, that's we're in Alberta. So we have item 8.3, sponsorship request for 2023 Didsbury Mountain View Business Conference. Thanks for coming, Councilor Moore.
I move that council approve a $500 sponsorship to the Didsbury District Chamber of Commerce for the Didsbury and Mountain View Business Conference to be funded from the council's community grants budget.
Deputy Mayor.
I'm curious if we've provided any sponsorship to the chamber this year, and if so, can we get a total? Like how much have we already sponsored?
So earlier, like right around budget time, we sponsored $500 for the Women in Agribusiness conference that they hosted in the early spring.
Okay, so 500, and that was out of our community grant as well, I believe, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Other questions? Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm confused, and maybe our representative on the chamber could tell us how this fits into their mandate. Their mandate is to nurture and support our local businesses, and I don't see how this is doing that. The other thing I'd like to say is that I'm not sure that we got appropriate and proper recognition for the $500 that we did to the women's conference, and I would hate to see this go the same route.
I don't know if you have a response to that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is the first time I've seen this. Not saying that it hasn't been brought up. The last couple meetings, times have changed. And one was a 7 a.m. breakfast meeting, which I indicated I was unable to attend. And the following one was I think a 12 p.m. lunch meeting, which I was unable to attend. Our meetings typically were evenings, Wednesday evenings, and I don't even know how or when that changed. So I simply received emails, said to the one I was unable to attend, I don't believe I got any response.
So we have $850 left. And so we would, yeah, so that would leave us with $350 if council approves this. And I'm looking here that it's taking care of business. And a small business, and they're doing their business awards during the event. And I guess, is there anything saying, Nicole, in our policy, and I can pull it up too, that they have to apply all at once for, because our groups are eligible for $2,000. So is there anything that says they can't apply twice or 3 times, just as long as you don't
I believe that the policy states that there's an initial intake in May. Can I just give me a minute? I'll look at it.
And these things come up, so.
While she's looking it up, then.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Is this something that maybe we could sponsor the coffee and donuts and set up a little, like take care of that for them and possibly have a counselor or two there, town of Didsbury sign and donate the coffee and donuts to the participants? I don't know.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I like that idea. If that works, that would give proper recognition for whatever we were doing. I like that idea.
A $500 sponsorship gives us a table to display in the vendor market, an acknowledgement throughout the event, and our logo on all advertising and table signage on our table, and a complimentary event ticket. So clearly we can have a table there, we can put our stuff there, we can promote all of the town things that we want to do. And we have an event ticket as well. It sounds to me like we're getting our money's worth for $500.
Okay. And Nicole, you had something?
Yeah, I found the answer. So the policy states that there will be one intake of grant applications per year with a deadline of May 1st, but applications will be accepted after the intake deadline. However, funding will be contingent on community grant funds being available. And it is up to a maximum of $2,000 per group.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Council Board has a motion to allocate 500, what's the motion? It's not present money.
Sponsorship.
Sponsor the chamber for $500. Okay. And I guess with that, while we're discussing this, we have a table, how are we gonna manage that? So we'd have to organize that too, I guess. So we'd anticipate that council or whatever, we would have to be present and man the table, or we'd have to have some details of that worked out somehow. Just, we don't have to do that tonight, but that'll have to happen if this motion's approved. Ready to vote? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So we have a meeting at the Alberta Municipalities Convention to meet with our Minister of Transportation, and as we all know, we have some unfinished business in our community with the highway that runs through it and whatnot, and so nice. He's offered to sit down. So last time we went with Councillor Windsor and Councillor Williams, and I know we've commonly gone with Councillor Moore and Councillor McCoy to Municipal Affairs. And do we want to stay on that trend and just keep the consistency that way? And Councillor Baswick has never. Are you interested at this time?
I'm fine with your representative.
Okay, just because you declined last time, but you might change your mind. So we name the same two to attend. Everybody good with that? Are you coming this time? Okay. So the motion will be Councillor Windsor and Councillor Williams. Are you going to be there?
That should be enough. Yeah.
They're both W's.
Yeah, I'll do it. Unless Councilor Moore would like to attend.
Actually, I think that because I am friends with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, that would be more helpful.
when we have these.
Okay, then I move to appoint a delegation of Mayor Hunter and councillors Windsor and Williams to meet with the Honorable Deputy Dreesen, Minister of Transportation, at the Florida Municipalities Convention.
All right, we'll call a vote.
Call a vote, all in favor? That's carried. Great. I have to show everybody this because I need to. I was at the mayor's meeting, I should have showed it during my report, but Mayor Kohlberg and Madison Kohlberg, I believe is her daughter, or they wrote a book and then published it called Two Magic Words, and it's a Dino Adventures set. Of course, about dinosaurs from Dinosaur Valley there, or Drumheller Valley. So that's pretty cool. I just wanted to, she gives them to us today, so I've got to read it tonight, I guess. So thanks for indulging.
Is that a book or a leaflet?
It's a kid's book. Yeah. So thanks for indulging that. I know it was not on our agenda, but so we'll move to council meeting highlights.
Do you have it with council position?
Did you read any?
I don't know if something came this morning.
Yeah, no, nothing came in the mail. There's some in your mailbox, but that's, you can get that after. And I'm going to say the artwork on the Didsbury Inn. So I'm going first this time. Deputy Mayor, you go second.
You know what, because it contained so much good information and explained a lot of the work that's happened this summer and the improvements that have been done to this town, I'm not going with the municipal reserve answer, but the CAO report.
We'll be there.
I just want to say, don't let that convince you for another 9-week break next summer. Because we'll try to get them to do it in 7 or 6. Councillor Bosworth.
Thank you, Mayor. That was mine, by the way. They've done a really good job this summer. I guess I was really interested in the detail that we got from our fire department. Very valuable information, well presented, well written, easy for even someone like myself to understand. So that's the one I like.
Can I just add to that and maybe confirm with Amanda that the fire department now has administrative support? I think that's really a good move that happened on the team. So Curtis didn't have to sit down and do that all by himself, he's a busy guy. But it is nice to see the administrative support that the fire department has now, and great reports come out of that. Councilor Warren.
I'm going to choose the business conference. I really appreciate how forward-looking and innovative and hardworking our Chamber of Commerce is. It's a new day as far as that's concerned, and they've been doing some amazing things. Our business community is bigger than I know because some of it is online and I don't often go there.
Councilor Windsor?
This is difficult, so I'm going to pick the council reports.
That's the first.
You must really like the council reports. I'm going to say meeting with the Minister of Transportation. I think that's going to be very important, and I can't wait to see them at one of his valleys.
All right. Thanks for that.
Does our gallery have any questions? Thanks for always being here, Phil. We appreciate that. And it looks like you had a great summer down there in the valley again. So with that, I will call for a motion to go closed at 7:49. Counselor Baswick, all in favor? That's carried.
Didn't even come up.
2 minutes, 2 minutes as usual.
You can't call that.
make salads while he shot.
Fred, if anybody wants to add the file.
Start with go with butter, go suntan.
Go ahead, Ethan, are you ready for these?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Okay, so first motion that,
I'll move that the mayor respond to the letter as discussed.
On the vote, all in favor?
respond to the waste to energy proposal.
Oh, I'm sorry, respond with the letter. I had with a letter to the waste to energy proposal as discussed.
Call the vote again, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that. Okay, and then, that's the administrative updates and information. Councilor Windsor will go around the table.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Call the vote, all in favor? In the governance updates, can you read the Alberta municipalities motion?
Yeah, that the mayor continue to engage with Alberta municipalities regarding board representation.
That's Councilor Williams. All in favor? Carried. And that mayor, CEO and CAO meet as discussed. Is that okay?
Engage the public safety minister.
Yeah. So the mayor and CEO engage the public safety minister.
As discussed.
As discussed, that's deputy mayor. Call the vote, all in favor? And then,
Did you want something for the letter regarding the grant?
yes. Is there not?
Yeah, to engage public safety minister as discussed with accompanying letters as needed. So that'll cover any,
I'll amend my motion.
And we'll vote. I'm sorry. Let's let you read it to us.
that the mayor, CEO, engage public safety minister as discussed with any accompanying letters as needed.
Deputy mayor, all in favor? That's carried. And then we need a motion for, to support, you read it, Ethan, you have it.
That the mayor respond to the chamber as discussed.
Okay. On vote, all in favor, and that was Councilor Baswick. And then the final one, Councilor Morrow, appropriate, me.
Oh, I should make that about myself?
You want to do it, or do you want someone else?
I think maybe somebody else should, because it's instructing me.
Okay, so I will move that Councilor Moore represent the council's interests regarding the Mountain View Senior Housing land as discussed.
And I think we need to have a motion to receive the ICF timelines, letters received as, so So the ICF timelines letters received by council as information.
We got sorry just before that.
Yeah, let's vote on the,
Accept the governance update that's presented.
we didn't vote on the obviously the
Oh.
government.
Right.
All in favor? It's carried. And then to accept the governance updates as information. Councilor Williams? All in favor? That's carried. And Deputy Mayor will make the, to accept the ICI by timelines correspondence as information.
Already did that.
Call the vote, all in favor. And a motion to adjourn at just a minute, 9:23 and 5 seconds. Councilor Williams, all in favor?